The Night Fairy. We're on chapter 4, and the thumbnail of the Hummingbird chapter 4. You can see the hummingbird fluttering over. It looks like a tiger lily, some kind of daylily. Its wings are going so fast. They look like a blur. Okay. Florrie was no longer alone. She felt that she had made a friend, although she wasn't quite sure what friendship was. Scuggle was not the best of friends because he would have eaten her if he could. That's true. You probably don't want to have a friend that will eat you. Because he would have eaten her if he could. Also, he never talked about anything but food. Florrie wasn't the best of friends either. She knew that if she had been able to fly, she wouldn't have bothered with Scuggle. She was using him. See? Yeah, you definitely don't want a friend who will eat you, but you also don't want to have a friend that's just your friend because you have something to give them or can do something for them. To be a friend, to have a friend, you have to be a friend. So you have to give and you receive. It's like an equal partnership. That's what a friendship is. I wonder if they're going to learn how to be friends in this book. Okay. She was using him. All the same, after she struck her bargain with Scuggle, she was less lonely. She had not known she was lonely before. If she hadn't lost her wings, she would have lived with other fairies. They would have played and danced together, swapping riddles and songs and spells. Other fairies might have taught Florrie manners, because fairies simply do not put up with rudeness from their friends. That sounds good. But Scuggle had no manners to teach Florrie, and when she was rude to him, he just scratched himself. That was all right with Florrie. She enjoyed bickering with him. It was more interesting than talking to herself. But they're not learning anything from each other, are they? Or is only one person learning? I don't think that a friendship when only one person is getting something is a good friendship. She sometimes wondered how she had managed before she met Scuggle. Perched behind his ear, she explored every inch of the garden. Scuggle took her to the thornapple tree and gnawed off a long thorn that made her an excellent dagger. In return, Florrie helped the squirrel get suet from a little box with a cage around it. They are doing things for each other. The cage had such tiny holes that Scuggle couldn't get his paws inside. Florrie reached through the bars with her dagger and scraped off gobs of suet for the hungry squirrel. She soon learned that Scuggle would do anything for suet or seeds. Scuggle was not easy to ride. He was much too big for Florrie, and his stride was so rough that she clung to his ear for dear life. Riding him was like riding a roller coaster, now fast, now slow. Florrie never knew when he would tear straight up a tree trunk or leap to another tree. He often forgot where she wanted to go and bounded off after something to eat. Still, it was a great thing to be able to move about quickly. It made Florrie realize how much she missed her wings. She began to study the other creatures of the garden, wondering if any of them might be coaxed into carrying her through the air. This whole studying things, we've read about that in a different book. The Wild Robot. Okay, so now, the butterflies were tempting, but butterflies are absent-minded. When Florrie tried to talk to them, they flounced their painted wings and drifted off. The fireflies were almost as beautiful as the butterflies, and Florrie thought they looked clever. But dragonflies are moody and, like bats, fond of eating moths. Florrie didn't think she could trust them. There remained the birds. By now, Florrie knew the birds of the garden very well. She liked the chickadees and the titmice, but avoided the meat eaters, the blue jays, the grackles, and the crows. She admired the scarlet crest of the cardinal and the yellow feathers of the goldfinch. Watching the birds fly brought a lump into Florrie's throat. She missed flying dreadfully. And she's only been flying for a really short time and she misses it. You know why? Because she's designed to fly. It must be hard. Florrie saw her perfect mount one morning in June. She heard a whirring noise and saw a shimmer in the air. We know what it is. A dark patch, only a little larger than a bee. And then the creature caught the light. He was a hummingbird. His feathers were emerald green and glittered like mica. His throat was reddish purple, fiery hot one second, cool violet the next. He hovered beside an orange lily. His wings whirred so fast that Florrie couldn't see them. Oh, whispered Florrie. She was filled with such wonder that she could not speak. Her skin was prickly with goose flesh. It wasn't until he darted away that she remembered to breathe. And then she leaped to her feet and raced to the very tip of the cherry branch. Oh, he was gone. But he would come back, and when he did, she would talk to him. She would tell him how much she wanted him, needed him. He was the most beautiful, most magical creature she had ever seen, and he was just the right size for her, large enough to carry her easily, but small enough so that she could wrap her legs around his neck, and she was sure she could tame him. The thought made her want to leap in the air and shout with joy. She would tame him and make him her own. Someday, Florrie was sure of it. She would straddle his ruby red throat and soar above the flowers. He would be hers, her very own, and he would take her wherever she liked. Now, Florrie's been studying things for a long time, and she herself is a wild thing, a wild fairy. You can't tame wild things, and you can't make a wild thing your own. Let me just show you this picture, and you will see how delicious this whole thing is. Okay, can you see? Let me just see. Oh. There we see Florrie. Hey, hold on a second. That's the picture that's on the cover. And the artist made a glow around Florrie and a glow around the hummingbird so that you could see it. And now you'll see it in the full of daylight where there's no glow, there's just the picture. She's on the cherry tree. Now look at the cherries and look at how the size of Florrie. Florrie must be the size of a cherry, right? She's quite small. And the hummingbird was no larger than a bee. That's super tiny. I don't know about which kind of hummingbird this is. I always think that it's a ruby-throated hummingbird, but I feel like they're substantially larger than a bee. We might have to look that up this summer when we watch the hummingbirds come to the feeder. We have chapter 5, and when you look at it, we can see the giantess. Looks like the giantess is doing something at the tree, maybe putting more bird food in. Chapter 5 is called Ignored. Ignored means not paying attention, like this. So is the giantess not ignoring? Is Florrie ignoring? Who are the other characters? The hummingbird. Is the hummingbird ignoring? Is Scuggle ignoring? We know Scuggle can't ignore. Scuggle's too scattered for that kind of business. We'll have to find out next.